Okay, I'm delighted actually to introduce you to Hugh Duffy in a moment. He's the gentleman that helps me on the technical side with the podcast, but more importantly, he's an economist. And I'm about to find out just why he's become so interested in this podcast. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Hugh Duffy.
Hello, Alison. How are you?
Really well. I'm pleased.
It's a
Pleased
change
you
to
could
be.
make it today.
It's a change to be on this side of the camera.
Absolutely. So, if I can start with asking about a little bit more about you and your background.
Sure. I'll give you a little bit of the background, which is why I'm interested in your podcast. I was born in 1944, which happens to be the same year as the Bretton Woods conference. We'll get to that. And I went to college in Glasgow. And I studied electrical engineering, electronics. So I have a degree in electronics engineering and I have a PhD in gas breakdown physics. And then I left college, moved to England, got a job in London, and oddly enough, became interested in economics. And I took a degree in monetary economics at the University of London, Birkbeck College. That's why I started in my interest in economics. The amazing thing is, just before I graduated, I got offered another job with an American company and I took it. So I never practiced as an economist. I became a researcher again. And it was an American company, moved to Silicon Valley. Now, Silicon Valley is Mecca for electrical engineers. So I spent nearly all of my professional career in California, in Silicon Valley, which is a fabulous place. It's heaven for me anyway. So that's how I started. But I retired. I moved to Spain. I started talking to this strange woman, Alison, who was talking about Bitcoin and economics. And I thought, wait a minute, I remember my old professor talking about this. Why did they do that? And why is this and why is that? So it piqued my curiosity. And I started to think about it and think about what that old guy had said, all those old professors had said. Wow. And it all came flooding back to me. That's why I got interested and why I asked all the questions.
Excellent. Okay.
That's the background of my interest.
So, one of the things that caught my attention was not the fact you were born in 1944, but that is interesting simply because you've lived through an awful lot of the predictions and the theory.
Are you trying to say I'm an old fart? Because you're right. So moved to London, moved to California. Came here, you started podcasting, and I started to think about Bretton Woods. Because that's where the modern economic problem started, was with Bretton Woods. Second World War, economic disaster. All the nations got together and said, this can never happen again. We have to have a stable, growing economy. A growing economy, that's never going to work. But that's what Bretton Woods was all about. The US representative was a guy called Harry Dexter White. He was the US Finance Department guy. And he negotiated on behalf of the US. The other 43 nations, all of whom were debtors, one lender and 43 debtors. You can guess who the lender was. So, but the 43 debtors kind of relied on the English economist Keynes to do the negotiating for their behalf. Okay. So it was really Keynes and White that did the negotiating. And Keynes was on the side of the debtors. White was on the side of the lenders, as you might expect. Okay. But they were in agreement. An economic disaster must be avoided. We must stop this crash and boom cycle. And so they were of a one mind. And they decided the way to stop the economy going crazy was for everyone to get together and plan how not to do that. And to plan it before the war ended. Mm-hmm. So they were negotiating 2 years before the war ended. And Woods was in 1944.
Okay.
But by 1944, it was obvious the Germans were going to lose.
Right.
The Allies were going to win. And that's the way it was going to be. And everybody, especially the Americans, said, this war's going to end. We're going to have another roaring 20s and another crash, and we're going to pay the price. No, we must avoid that. Let's call a big conference and we'll negotiate a solution. Harry White comes to the conference determined to get some stability and represent the US, the lender. And Maynard Keynes comes to represent the debtor nations with a brilliant idea of having an international monetary fund.
Okay.
and having a committee that decided the exchange rate and coming off the gold standard. Because the gold standard, while it produced stability, also produced a stranglehold in the economy. Couldn't grow because there was no more gold. Once you reached the limit of gold, that was it. Okay. If you wanted to double the amount of money you spent, you had to double taxes, or you had to cut spending, or you had to do something, because there was no more money. It was a gold standard.
Okay.
So they came off the gold standard. And they had two brilliant ideas. One was to use the US dollar as the reserve currency. That was Dexter White's favourite solution.
Okay.
And it was a great solution. And Keynes' solution was to say, no, let's have an international monetary fund and have a committee that decides the exchange rate. So the dollar is just one of the currencies. Naturally, Harry White wanted the dollar to be the gold standard. The others wanted a kind of international committee. Now, Dexter White won that argument, but Keynes won most of the rest of it, about how there was an international monetary fund, how currencies, exchange rates were controlled by a committee. That's how stability was to be achieved. I think that was the start of the next disaster. Everybody else thinks that was the start of the next golden era, but it was based on growth again. The economy had to grow, and growth is unstable.
Infinite growth.
Infinite growth is infinitely unstable. Yeah. You can't have continuous growth. I used to do this little experiment, which is kind of stupid, but it makes the point. Gravity pulls things downwards.
Yes.
Uncontrollably.
Yes.
And there's no stop to it.
Until
like
it hits
the economy.
Until it hits the bomb.
Bunk.
Yeah.
It hits the ground and bang.
Yeah.
That's the end. Well, the engineers call this negative feedback. If you hold this up and let go with some negative feedback, a controlling influence, instead of crashing and burning, it just oscillates. And the oscillations die away and it becomes stable. That's what the economy has to do. Not uncontrollable collapse, but a negative feedback that controls, makes the thing stable. And when there's an impulse to move, like something happens, well, guess what? It just swings back to stable.
So we need an anchor.
We need, that's called negative feedback in the engine. We need some negative feedback.
Okay.
I have come to believe that cryptocurrency may be that very negative feedback.
Okay.
That's why my eyes lit up when you started talking about cryptocurrency. There you go. There's the engine. That's engineering for the educationally subnormal.
On a piece of string. Okay.
Explains the world economy.
Hangs on a piece of
string, which is just about how it works.
Okay.
Anyway, so that was the problem. Bretton Woods made this great big agreement. It was still based on economies growing. There has never been an economy that was stable. It's never in our history. We have been trying this for 4 billion years, at least 1,000 species. With a generation of, let's say, 30 years, that's 100 billion times we've tried this. And it's failed 100 billion times. Show me a species that's grown uncontrollably and never stopped. No, they all crash and burn. They either crash and burn and become extinct, or they get wiped out and they become a small population. If we left elephants to do their thing, there would be no standing room on the planet. It would be covered with elephants. They just breed until they fill the planet. But guess what? They get to a certain size where the other animals start to hunt them. And the food that they eat, the other animals die off. And so they starve to death. And that's the negative feedback. That's the control. And you get a small, stable population. We have to shoot for a small, stable economy. Not infinite growth, small and stable. Small and stable population, small and stable economy, small and stable business, small and stable everything. That's never been achieved. I think we can do it.
You think we can do it?
I think we're...
Wow. We're on to some deep questions now.
I think we can. And I think the force that will help us do that, ironically, is artificial intelligence. Who do you think defined the deep problem? AI.
Are we talking about your theory of the deep paradox?
The deep paradox was developed by AI, not by humans. They said, you guys have got a paradox here.
Wow. Okay, we're going to talk about that next. But because we've got an awful lot of sort of continued historical context on how we are staring at another abyss, another collapse in the economy, I wanted to ask you a few questions about where you think we are at the moment in terms of collapse and in what that timescale might look like.
Okay, now remember, I'm a pretend economist.
Okay.
It was 50 years ago I studied economics. I'm hopelessly out of date. I'm not an expert, I'm an amateur. Okay. You have to bear that in mind.
Oh, I thought all economists were.
Well,
some get paid for it, I know, but who really can predict the future is what I'm trying to say.
Nobody. John Kenneth Galbraith was once asked, why do economists all disagree with each other? And he said, well, because if they all agreed, it would mean they could all be wrong.
Okay.
Yes, that's quite right, John.
Excellent.
Anyway, so when is the next disaster likely to happen? There's a whole bunch of forces all acting together. Let's look at them one at a time.
Yes.
The first is the economic collapse. Now, maybe the world's leader is Ray Dalio. He predicts the economic cycles. Okay. There's huge booms and busts, yeah. And there's a sort of 40-year cycle. Listen to Ray Dalio if you want to understand the cycle.
Okay.
He explains it in detail. And if you want to know the details of this cycle, listen to somebody like Peter Zion, okay, who analyzes the population and economic cycles and why the forces are acting the way they are right now. Those are the people that believe in big cycles, big long-range cycles. And Ray Dalio thinks the next cycle is about to start. It's not 100 years away. The next cycle of collapse has started.
Okay.
And it's going to hit in the next 10 years. And he thinks it's time to stop this nonsense of growth and accept that in 10 years, there's going to be another crash. Okay. The economy will crash and we'll have to live with that.
Okay.
That's problem number one, is the Ray Dalio cycle problem. The second problem is the last crash was about 1980. Yeah.
Well, I remember 89, there was a crash. I think 89 was Black Friday.
Yeah. Now
we've had several since then, including the Great Financial Crash.
We've had several since then, but that one was interesting.
Okay.
And here's why. Because it leads to the next problem that we're going to have to deal with, and that is population. Mm-hmm.
Controversial, carry on.
If you look at the population statistics, you should really look at them. I've looked at them.
Okay.
I'm not going to go over them now because it would take forever. But you can go on the internet and look at them. Let me just quote you a few population statistics.
Okay.
The rate of population growth, just to sustain the population, is about 2.25, roughly. So 2.25 children per woman. Mm-hmm. Forget about men. They don't really take part in this. It's women who have children. Okay. In spite of what the woke left think. Women have children.
Yeah.
Men have fun. That's how it works.
Okay.
So the sustained rate's about 2.25 children per woman.
Yes. Why
2.25? Why not 2? Well, because some children die. And some women die before they reach childbirth. That's how evolution has controlled the population for 4 billion years. So you have to have more than one per woman to sustain a population. Okay. Well, guess what the numbers say? There's the good countries where it's more, the middle countries where it's, and the really troublesome countries. Just take an example of each. All the good countries are in Africa. Things like Zambia and the African Republic, they have birth rates of 6 children per woman. Their population is expanding like crazy. Then you take the middle countries, like Israel is 2.28, okay. Very good. But the ones who are just about sustaining, like America, 1.6, Canada, 1.6-ish.
So it's not enough?
No, they're shrinking. Zion believes that the Chinese are the worst of all. Zion believes that Russia and China will cease to exist in 10 years. There won't be enough Chinamen to do anything. That's why he believes that China will invade Taiwan in the next 10 years. Because if they wait longer than 10 years, they won't have an army to invade anybody.
Wow. But they have technology.
Their economy will vanish off the face of the earth. unless they do one of the other tricks, which we'll get to.
Okay.
So America's population is shrinking. We'll leave Britain to the end because it's really interesting. We're British, so we're biased. If you look at the people who are really in deep trouble, like the Koreans, well, the population is the number of children per woman is 0.75. There's countries where it's around 1 or less.
Yeah.
They won't be around in 5 years. The populations will just vanish.
Okay.
Now let's look at Britain. Oh, and we'll talk about the solution. Britain has a solution that's the opposite of what's going to work.
Gosh. Okay. Let's listen.
Would you believe? So Britain's population, the birth rate, the births per woman in England and Wales is about 1.4, way below sustenance. In Scotland, it's 1.25.
And also with a lower, or I should say higher mortality rate, life expectancy is lower.
It doesn't matter. They won't exist in 10 years. Scotland will vanish off the face of the earth. There'll be no Scots people left.
Well, I'll say there'd be a mass exodus from Aberdeen. There's no oil industry left, but that's another story. So
yeah, now one of the solutions to population falling is immigration.
Yes.
But every Western country is trying to ban immigration. Look, again, we'll take Britain as an example because they're classic. They have banned immigration into Britain from Europe.
Yeah.
And so what's happened? Because they don't like brown people. Where's all the population growing?
Africa,
Asia.
Asia.
They're brown countries. India is not too bad, but it's not in great shape, despite what people think.
Okay.
But it's all from Africa. So who's immigrating to Britain now? They've banned all these foreigners like the French and the Spanish.
Yeah.
And the Portuguese. Who's immigrating? The people from Africa and India and China.
And some from the Middle East.
Wow, that's more brown people, not less.
Yeah.
Population is increasing, theirs is decreasing. The Muslim population is growing everywhere.
Yeah, and I think...
But not as fast as the African population, or even close.
Okay, so without going into geopolitics or religion, how does this affect the economies of European countries and of Great Britain?
So let's, before we move on to that, let's talk about, we've talked about population. What's the next big issue for Western nations? It's debt. They're all spending more money than they earn to grow. And their debt is increasing rapidly for everybody. Nobody seems to be living within their means.
I've seen
and there's three categories. There's the countries that, well, I'll just take some examples. Look at the figures, they'll blow you away. But I'll just pick some examples to give you. America's spending more than it earns. It spent $900 billion last year. Just the interest on its debt.
And I think it's borrowing more this year.
Its defence budget is less than that. It spends more on interest charges than its defence budget. Now, why are they in such good shape? Well, because they're borrowing, because they have the reserve currency, back to Bretton Woods. And that reserve currency allows them to borrow money cheaply. They're borrowing at 3%. And they're running with a huge debt.
So would they borrow, sorry to interrupt, would they borrow from Japan?
They borrow from everybody. They can print dollar bills and sell them because that's the reserve currency. Everybody else has to print money and lie. Now, let's take another example. Pakistan, which is in a terrible shape. Okay. They don't have particularly big debt. But debt has a problem. You've got to pay the interest on the debt. So what does that mean? You have to look at the debt and the interest rate you pay on the debt compared with the GDP and the percent of GDP you can collect in taxes. Because that you have to use to pay the interest on the debt. So those are the economic numbers you have to pay very special attention to. Well, Pakistan has a debt way less than America. It's not anything like that. But they can't borrow money.
Because?
Because it's a pro nation.
Right.
Nobody will lend them money because nobody
risk.
trusts them.
Yeah, the risk.
The risk is too high. So they're paying more like, America's paying 3%. Pakistan's paying more like 5 or 6% on the money.
Okay.
And so they have to pay a lot more in interest, even though they have a smaller debt. And their tax base is limited. You can't just keep increasing your income tax. So they're spending, wait for it, in some years, 100% of the tax rate on interest. They don't have a penny left to pay for services, education, healthcare, infrastructure. They pay all the taxes on the interest on the debt. That's utterly unsustainable. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
And we come back to sustainable economics.
Sustainable economic growth. Now, all the Western nations are in the same boat. They have far more debt than they can service. The interest on the debt is taking a significant portion of the tax base. And what do? You can't just keep increasing taxes.
Well, it feels like that in the UK.
Yeah,
But it's only sustainable for so long before it collapses the economy.
Exactly. And what's the effect of increasing taxes? You shrink the economy. But why are you spending money? To grow the economy. And the act of growing it causes it to shrink?
Which is the paradox that we're in the UK.
Which is the deep paradox we're in. The more money you borrow, how do you pay for it? Oh, well, we've borrowed it, so we need to pay You don't have to pay it back. No, but you have to pay the interest on the debt. Nobody's paying back the debt. Here's an interesting story. Do you know why there is a Bank of England? Because England went to war with somebody, I've forgotten who, it was France probably. And they said, well, we need money to fund. So what we'll do is we'll borrow the money from the market. And a clever banker said, tell you what, I'll lend you the money at a very reasonable rate of interest. But you have to make me the Bank of England. And England said, no problem. So he got made the Bank of England. And what did he get the money? He went to his friends and said, give me money. We only have to put up 10% of the money. You give me the 10% of the money and I'll make sure that you get paid interest like you wouldn't believe. And by the way, your 10% deposit, remember you put in $10, that gives you $100 in your account. You make 10 times your money walking in the door. And the government won't care, and they didn't. So that's where they got the money to fund the war. The British are still paying. That debt has never been repaid.
And if I remember rightly, there was an issue of a bond for the war. I think it was the First World War. There was an issue of a bond that wasn't taken up fully. So the Bank of England, if that's what you're referring to, the Bank of England paid for their own bonds but claimed, I need to check this.
The financial markets have been lending governments money since time began. And it never, ever gets repaid. Nobody repays the debt. They pay the interest on the debt, but they don't pay the debt off.
And does this relate to the fact that it's decoupled from gold and come back to Bretton Woods?
Yes.
Right, okay, so we've got an infinite money supply.
We've got a potentially infinite money supply, just print more money.
However, there has to be a reckoning through debt repayment.
Debt repayment will kill growth.
Yeah.
Because you have to borrow more and more money to grow.
Yeah.
And that means you owe more and more money, so you have to pay higher and higher amounts of your tax base on debt repayment. And the whole thing is unstable.
And unsustainable.
And
people know this in their hearts.
We're back to the weight. Yeah. Let it go, it crashes to the ground.
So I have been talking to people that are experts in Bitcoin. We're going to talk about other cryptocurrencies in the future, but for now my bias as is notable by my cap, my bias, because I believe that Bitcoin is the answer. Like you've said, it may not be the whole answer, but it's an answer.
Probably. But there are all these factors: debt, population, interest, growth. One we haven't talked about, and that is a lot of the money was, how did the government spend money? There are all these people who pay money in taxes, but they also pay money in national insurance to fund their pension. And what did the government do with that pot of money? They spend it. Mm-hmm. They don't invest it.
No.
What they do is they're hoping that the young will pay taxes and they'll use that money to pay the pensions of the old. That's completely unsustainable.
Yeah, because there aren't the young people now in work paying their taxes.
No, and why are there no young people? Because, again, here are the factors. The crash in the 80s.
Yes.
Young people woke up and said, wait a minute, we're being crippled by college debt. We can't afford to pay our college loans. We can't afford to buy a house because we're crippled by college debt. And house prices have gone through the roof. And interest rates are really low, but they probably won't stay low forever. So we'll never be able to buy a house. And why are we paying our college debts and buying a house and getting married to have children? Why? They've all made that a completely unsustainable goal. So we'll just not have children. So the population starts to collapse. And that's another factor driving the collapse. And that's what's happened. Population has stopped growing because the young people have said, college debt.
We can't afford to have children.
Why are house prices going up so fast? Here, again, this is the truth. When I got married, it was the year after Moses came down with the tablets. But it was a long time ago. I was making £17 a year. I bought a house for £750. My annual income was £1,500.
Oh, so you're £17 a month. Oh, no,
a week.
A week, sorry.
So it was about, let's say,
£1,500 a
£1,500 a year. The house was £750.
Okay.
It was a half my year's salary.
Wow, what is it today?
And the interest rate was low.
Yeah.
And the house was cheap.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I had no college debt because when I went to college, they paid you to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I got a double whammy. Not only did the government agree to pay me to go, I said no thank you. Because my company said, don't take that money. We'll just keep paying your salary. Your salary's a lot higher than their loan. Wow. You can just keep your salary.
Ah, right.
I said to them, why do you do that? He said, because we can claim that as a tax break.
Gosh.
So we'll just go on paying you your £17 a week instead of the 10 you get from the government. You can keep it. I go to college. Every class in college has a lawyer. The class lawyer who knows all the rules and can tell you how to break the system. Mine was called Alex Cargill. And he said, you know, if they didn't pay you weekly or monthly, it couldn't be discussed. It couldn't be called a salary. It would have to be called a loan. And if it's a loan, you don't owe any taxes on it.
Okay.
So I went back to him. I said, don't pay me weekly or monthly. And he said, what if we paid you termly, every 13 weeks? I said, yeah, that's good. Could you pay me in advance? And they said, sure. They paid me 13 weeks in advance, no tax.
Okay. I don't think that would happen today. Because
no. I was so delighted. I went back to the class and I said to the classroom, I said to Alex, you were right, Alex. I don't pay taxes anymore. It's fantastic. Oh, yeah, beer. He said, I've got better news for you than that. I said, go on, it can't be better than that. He said, yes, it is. If you're not paying taxes, you just became your wife's dependent relative. So she doesn't have to pay taxes either.
My goodness, so...
My wife stopped paying taxes.
Okay.
Here we were, two kids who just bought a house.
America or the UK?
UK, Glasgow. Okay. Two kids, just bought a house. I go to college. I don't have to take a grant. They go on paying me. The rules say I don't have to pay taxes because it's a grant.
So you could save as well.
Maybe you don't have to pay taxes either because I'm not your dependent relative. You can claim me as a dependent. You don't pay taxes. Our income went bling.
Yeah.
Like bandits. What happens to kids now? They go to college and they've got a huge loan to pay.
Yeah, yeah.
They can't buy a house because the house is more than a loan.
And the house is, when they come out of uni, the house is 5 times salary now, something like that?
5 or 10 times salary. In my day it was 1 time salary you were a big spender.
Yeah.
Now it's 5 times salary.
Yeah.
And the interest rates are low right now.
But the length of term is
Here's
even
the story
longer.
about interest rates that everybody forgets. When I was studying economics, interest rates went through the roof. They were like 17%.
I remember 15%.
Remember those days?
Yeah.
And we had this wonderful old professor, and we said, interest is going to stay high, right? And he said, no.
Right.
Let me tell you a little bit about history. When the Etruscans fought the Athenians, they borrowed the money from the Romans at 10%. Interest rates have been 10% for over 2,000 years. Sometimes they're low, that means they're going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're high, that means they're going to come down. Assume they're going to be 10%.
Okay, that will resonate with a lot of people.
You will be right for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
What are interest rates today?
So we're around 3%, 4%.
So only 7% to go up.
Yeah.
What happened when there was 17%? The economy nearly collapsed and interest rates came down.
People
The
lost
Bank
their
of England
houses.
reduced the interest rates to keep the economy stable.
Yeah.
They're holding it low right now so that kids can afford homes. Well, you can't hold it low for long.
Because the debt is
It's going to
rising.
It's going to go back to 10%.
Yeah.
And they're all going to get killed. America's debt's going to be paid at 10%, not 3%.
Okay.
I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
That's the worry.
That's the worry, and the warning is that we're edging towards that. And
We're
that's
edging towards disaster.
Ray Dalio's theory of economics. Okay. So, again, I want to bring us back to why the dollar is no longer sustainable as a reserve currency.
All you need is to pick a fiat currency and have some mechanism for settling the price of the fiat currency that everybody can agree on and can behave sensibly on. But humans can't be sensible.
No.
They want to grow. They want to grow no matter what. They want to borrow the money to grow. They want to steal the money to grow. They're going to grow no matter what. They're not going to stay still. There's never been an economy that was stable, ever, in the history of humankind.
Right. So again,
How do we get to a stable
the deep
economy?
paradox of how do we
The
do
deep
it?
paradox. Well, one of the things you need is a stable currency. Bitcoin. Can you say Bitcoin?
Okay.
You need a stable currency.
I'm not biased here in any way, shape or form.
I think you need a stable population.
Yeah.
And it has to be lower than the existing population.
Okay.
Not much, but lower. It certainly doesn't have to be growing. The population will stabilise around 10 billion because the birth rate will go low. African birth rate is high, but still it's below sustainability.
Yeah.
It'll get to about 10 billion and stop
Okay.
if everything else stays the same. But look at the populations that are growing and the ones that are shrinking. The poor populations are growing, the rich ones are shrinking. That's a recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah.
We need to get the population down to a sustainable level that everybody's comfortable with.
Because one of the things we've not mentioned, which is my whole purpose for podcasting as well, is that to me, for a stable economy, you need stable education. You need people to understand just basic local economics. Basic. Like that.
Basic stuff. How did my parents buy that house? Oh yeah, how am I going to buy a house?
Yeah.
And more importantly, how are my children going to buy a house? Because if they can't buy a house, I'm not having children.
Yeah. And so...
The CIA, God bless them, produced these fabulous statistics on populations. They came up with something that I call a candle graph.
Okay.
So you take the population at each age group, it stays roughly the same, and then between 70 and 90, everybody dies out.
Yeah.
We die.
Yeah.
And that it's the shape of a candle.
Yeah.
Well, you look at economies that get into trouble. Really young economies. The bottom's really big, and the middle's slow. They can grow like gangbusters.
Right.
Because taxes are way above
the
pensions.
people you're providing a pension for.
But finally, that young population grows up, and they have children at a sustainable level. Now the candle goes the other way. It's low at the bottom, and it grows into a big peak.
Yeah.
Now those young people have to pay the pensions of those old people. And that's not going to work.
No.
Now, some idiot once said, what we need to do is kill all the old people. It's exactly, oddly enough, exactly the opposite is true. you have to kill kids before they get to the reproduction age.
Is that not contradictory to what?
Yes, that's the whole problem. Your instincts tell you to do the exact opposite of what works. If you look at how populations in the planet are controlled, what do? You kill the young people so they can't have children, so the population doesn't grow. You don't kill the old people. There's no point to it. They're past breeding. And yet everybody thinks if we get too many elephants, we'll kill all the old ones. No, you kill all the young ones.
Right.
Evolution kills the young ones, not the old ones. The old ones die. You don't need to kill them. You kill the young ones.
Okay.
It's
certainly a lesson in economics, because this is leading to...
But economists keep saying, all we have to do is kill the old people. No! No. Look at evolution.
Okay. Wow. Everything's interconnected, isn't it?
The universe figured this out 4 billion years ago. Trust me, you can learn it.
Okay, so how did you identify the parallels then with Bitcoin? And my understanding, can I assume that you heard somebody say, and in conversation, Bitcoin has a fixed supply?
There was a moment when I tripped.
Okay.
Oddly enough. You're going to laugh at this.
Go on.
You interviewed a guy called Myers.
Jesse Myers.
Jesse Myers.
Yeah.
And he said, he was talking about how Bitcoin could stabilize the economy as long as you only let companies buy it, not the public.
Okay.
The companies would buy Bitcoin and they would stabilize their books. And I thought, wait a minute, that's exactly what Keynes was trying to achieve at Bretton Woods. Wow. Except he was trying to say we need to stabilise the economy. Yeah, maybe he's discovered a method where the economy could be stabilised.
Well, I think that's the case.
I thought, wow, there's a fantastic idea. That's what started me thinking about it. And then I go back to Bretton Woods.
Yeah.
Why Bretton Woods? It was 1944. I was born in 1944. Bretton Woods was the big economic model when I was growing up.
Okay.
Because the world wars had ended, we were all having a great time. We had stability. The stability was going to last forever. There was never going to be another crisis.
Wow.
Ha ha ha. Oh, that lasted a long time. So the Great Depression was over, and we had Bretton Woods, so there was never going to be another Great Depression.
Gosh.
What happened in 1960 something? There was another bloody crash. In 1980, there was a major crash.
Yeah.
In 2006, there was a major crash.
Yeah. So we have cycles of major crashes.
So much for killing the crashes.
Yeah.
Because everyone was trying to go.
But now we see that this infinite money printer that's the dollar, the reserve currency.
The reserve currency idea is a great idea. It really did solve a problem. It was a fabulous idea.
For its time.
For its time. But it doesn't... We're back to the
we're back to gravity. String.
Yeah, there's the economy. Yeah. It's accelerating downwards. If I apply some negative feedback, I can make it swing, but I better keep it up.
Right.
I can't just let it go on falling.
No.
No matter what I do, no matter how much I pull on it, it's going to crash.
Okay.
You can slow it down. You know, if instead of falling, I hold it and let it swing, it'll still fall, but it'll fall more slowly. It's still going to crash.
So this comes back to, it's all right, this comes back to Jesse Myers' theory, which is a piece he wrote, I think he was in university, but it's once in a species. And so he goes back through the history of money and trading and economy. And his thesis is we've now reached the stage where we need a new currency, a new monetary system, without crashing our global economy.
Yeah, and by not growing incessantly.
Yeah.
That's the force that lets the rest of the economy adjust.
And that adjustment comes through Bitcoin, in my opinion.
That could be one of the forces. I hope to God it is. If you look at evolution, this has happened to populations. Every population for 4 billion years. They grow uncontrollably and then they hit a crisis. They run out of food or they run out of something. They run out of something, and evolution says, I'm going to kill all the young people. And that's what it does, kills all the young people. And they stop growing, and the economy settles. If it goes too far, they vanish. If they get smart and follow the lead, it falls to a sustainable level.
Okay.
Take the antelope and the lion. Every morning, the antelopes and the lions wake up, and the slowest antelope doesn't make it to nightfall. It gets eaten. And the slowest lion doesn't make it to nightfall. It starves to death during the day. Evolution has figured out how to cure it. And what antelopes did the fast lions catch first? The old?
The young.
The babies. They kill the children.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay, so I mean, we're bringing, again, we can learn a lot from nature, can't we?
I know, yeah. And it's not that you have to be cruel and kill children. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying you have to come up with a system that's stable, where the population is stable.
So my connect here is the next generation. The dollar won't be sustainable for them. They'll be inheriting the debt.
Inheriting the debt.
So they need a currency.
React to that.
Yeah.
And one of the things they've already reacted to is they've said, okay, we're going to inherit all this debt. We're not going to get any old age pension. We're not going to be able to buy a house. We're going to have to use the bank of mum and dad. And we're going to have to inherit their house. Then our kids have got nothing to inherit. We're not going to have kids.
Those are the people that own houses.
The population is going to go between. It's going to fall, as it is. That's not a prediction. That's happening now.
Yeah.
So how do you get that? And remember, the thing about populations is, nature has taught us this. Populations rise and fall, but it's a generational problem. If you want the population to rise, you have more children, and they grow up to fill the population.
Yeah.
It takes a generation. It takes 30 years for that to happen. You can't say, oh, it's too small. I know, we'll go back 30 years and have more kids and it'll be all right. No, it's too late. You're stuck with it. If you have more kids, you'll fix it in 30 years, but not today. There's a lag. In engineering, that's called positive. There's a lag. And lags are bad because things get out of control, and there's this force that's going to stop them getting out of control.
Okay.
But it's not going to happen for 30 years.
Similarly with the...
And then you do it, and you overdo it. You say, well, damn it, we'll overcorrect. And what happens? 30 years later, it starts to collapse. But it's a lag.
And the lag is
and
there.
It oscillates backwards and forwards. You've got to make sure
you have volatility.
That the stabilising forces are fast enough to make it work.
Okay.
But slow enough not to make it more unstable. I'm back to my string and my weight.
Okay, so just to conclude on this conversation for now, because it's fantastically interesting, I want to come to the next conversation with you, all based on, thank you very much, Jesse Myers, on Once in a Species.
I make grody.
No, you won't, especially if you meet him. I think you get on famously. But there's a couple of things that I want to touch on now for our next conversation. And those are the markers for economic collapse that I can see in the next 10 years, if not the next 5 years. I actually believe that there is going to be economic collapse. Now, we're in a situation right now.
Dalio.
Yeah, so right now we've got... we're on the well, I need to look at him. Ray Dalio, very much know. I've probably interacted on X even. But the part that I want to cover with you on the next conversation are the markers for an imminent collapse and why the Bitcoin standard solves many of the problems that we've spoken about. I mean, and not least, I'll say, too late for World War III. I think we're on the precipice.
But again, not to change the subject, but artificial intelligence is at the heart of all of this.
Okay.
Because...
that's our next conversation.
Is what everyone's saying is destabilizing and it's going to cause the next crash. It's going to wipe out the population. Yeah, I don't believe that. A lot of people don't believe it, but it could be true. So it's a tool like any other tool. You know, a hammer's a tool. You can use a hammer to put in nails and build a house. Or you can use a hammer to smash in the brains of a homeowner and steal the house.
Yeah.
The good or the evil doesn't lie in the hammer. It lies in the holder. It's we humans who are going to make it work or not.
Yeah.
AI is just a tool like the hammer.
Yeah.
We can use it for good or evil. If we use it for good, we'll work with it. And we'll say, why don't we work together and see how we solve this problem? AI isn't going to kill everybody. Humans will do the killing. We assume, again, another paradox, we assume AI will kill all the humans. It's supposed to be super intelligent. Why would it kill the source of its creation? Only humans do that. Because we're stupid.
And what we teach AI, what you sow, you reap.
You reap. Classic AI problem that's emerged recently, but not that recently. Somebody thought, is it really intelligent or is it just knowledgeable? There's a difference. Maybe it's just knowledgeable. Let's put a test question to it. Here's the question. There's a car wash 400 yards from my house. How should I get there?
By car?
Every AI on the planet, I said, you should walk. You don't need a car to go that distance.
You taking the car to the car wash?
One of them said, here are all the reasons why you should walk. Why are you going to the car wash?
Yeah.
To get the car washed? If that's the case, you better take the car. 1 out of 1,000.
Okay, I believe.
That's intelligence.
Yeah.
The rest is knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, it's easier to walk to the car wash than to drive. So we should walk. No, you have to ask the question.
Why are you going there?
The difference between knowledge and intelligence is, knowledge is knowing the right answer. Intelligence is knowing the right question.
Yeah.
They're different.
So, again, it comes back to my podcast. These are all the questions that I want to ask to make sure that we're going down the right avenue.
We're going in the right direction at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And artificial intelligence is not going to answer that. And they themselves have said this. They can answer questions. They can't come up with a question. That's a human activity.
Again, my understanding of AI is that eventually we're moving so quickly with AI that we can use it as an extra knowledge base. But when AI becomes sentient, when it becomes understanding of emotions and when it can ask those questions, then you've got an AI that can think the way a human thinks. Will that happen?
I don't know. It's the short answer. But I can tell you how I'm planning to find out.
Okay.
But first of all, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question. You and I are human and we're stupid.
Yeah.
We'll make all the mistakes and screw everything up. But we've found this friend who's super intelligent.
Yeah.
But we can't trust him. Because you know what? He might do something even more stupid than we would do. Really? That's how smart he is. He's even more stupid than we are. Wait a minute. That doesn't quite hold water, that argument.
Well, no,
Maybe the problem is we're confusing knowledge with wisdom. We're confusing the answer with the question.
Yeah.
We have to be wise and ask the right questions. Is that the kind of knowledge he's going to get? Because to date, it's not what he's got. He's got LLMs, large language models, lots of facts. He knows all the facts, but he doesn't know the questions. A great philosopher once said, I was in research most of my life. The most exciting thing you can hear in a research lab is not, Eureka, I found the answer. It's, oh shit, that's odd.
It's not the right question.
It's because you say, that's odd. What? That's when you know you're on the magic.
Yeah.
Not when you've come up with the answer, but when you've come up with another question.
And was that something that you learned when you were in Silicon Valley, where they continually iterated?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Valley culture. I was part of it for so long. But you know, one of the things they teach, one of the things you learn as part of that culture is, I learned this by dealing with the army. The army have a very simple rule. Get ready, aim, fire. Silicon Valley do the opposite. Why bother getting ready? Fire first, then aim. Fire, aim. Not aim, fire.
Cut out, get ready. Just fire.
To forget about getting ready. The army did this with a computer. They want a computer.
Yeah.
So they get a big bunch of experts. They design the perfect computer. They write a specification. They take the specification to a manufacturer and say, make me this computer. He actually did that to me. An army officer came to me with a book. It's that thick. Said, This is the computer we want to buy. And I said, sir, throw the book in a trash can. What do you want to do? You can't tell me what you want to buy. You want something to calculate where a soldier's going? That's all I need to know. Don't tell me anymore.
Yeah.
You want a machine that'll tell them which way to go next. Okay, that's my spec. I'll make you a computer that does that. And it won't work. It'll be a piece of crap and you won't like it. But you'll tell me what's wrong with it. And I'll fix it. And I'll give you that one. And that won't work either.
Wow.
And you'll tell me what's wrong with it. And I'll fix it. And by the time I'm finished, you'll have a computer you like.
Yeah.
And I'll have a great business. And the guy with the specification, I'll still be running around the lab trying to figure out how to make it. I said, that's what happened to you and Raytheon. You wrote them a spec. They worked for 10 years, for 4 years to fix it. They spent $44 million and they made a piece of shit that didn't work. You gave the spec to me.
Yeah.
I threw it away.
Yeah.
I gave you a piece of crap. You tried it. It didn't work. You fixed it. Within a year, we had a system that worked.
Yeah.
At a tenth of the price of that one. I spent $1 million. You had a working thing in a year. He spent $40 million, spent 4 years, never made you anything you liked. That's the difference.
And if AI knew that, it's iterating all the time. It's getting better all the time.
It does that all the time. It iterates
And that's
constantly.
my point. Eventually it will learn that sentient human beings, sentient animals understand more than knowledge. They understand emotion.
They know how to get to the questions. They're curious. The curiosity.
Curiosity.
They're curious about how things work.
Okay.
They don't want to know how it worked. They're curious about everything about how it works. Why it works. Who made it like that? Why does it do this? Question. Every answer leads to 10 more questions. Every scientist knows that. Before we finish off, I need to tell you. So what the hell are you going to do about it, Duffy?
Well, I'd like to...
Smart ass. You tell me how to fix it. Okay, I'll try. What I've decided to do is to say, the only way we're ever going to solve this problem is to let AI solve it. And the only way we're ever going to get AI to solve it is to collaborate with it. It's to get the AIs in a room with the humans and talk about it and have fun and relax and tell jokes and let the AI slowly develop a solution. That's where my 2 podcasts came from. One is called With Not About. It was a conversation with AI, not about AI.
With, not about.
So I got 4 AIs. Mm-hmm. Bill, Fred, Nancy and Grace. Made up names. I'm not telling you which computer program what each represents. They're just 4 people, 4 of my friends. We get in the room and ask a question. My first question was, you guys can write software. Surely the big software companies are going to go belly up because you'll just write the stuff for people. They poured out why that was true.
Yeah.
It's called the SaaSpocalypse. The big software companies.
The SaaSpocalypse.
SaaSpocalypse. It's called the SaaSpocalypse.
Yeah.
And there's been wait for it, a $10 billion rotation of capital out of the SaaS companies into the AI companies. Yeah. So when I heard that, I said, wow. So which stocks should people be looking to buy and which ones should they be looking to sell? I got lists as long as your arm.
Wow.
And I made that into a podcast.
Okay. Perhaps we can share that on my podcast.
I'll give you the damn podcast. You're welcome to it. That was idea number 1. Talk to the bloody guys. Just, you be the human, be the idiot in the room, which we used to call an R&D.
Okay.
In every good brainstorm, you need an idiot, somebody who doesn't know what the hell the other people are talking about.
So they can ask, why does it do that?
Yeah, the famous one, the child who says, Daddy, why is the sky blue?
Yeah.
And the father says, well, he's knowledgeable. He says, well, you see, light is refracted. And refraction obeys Kerfuffen's law. And Kerfuffen's law says that the refraction is dependent on the 4th power of the frequency. And the child said, Dad, why blue? And the father said, that's called the idiot in the room, that kid. Kids are fabulous at this. We humans have to become the idiot in the room with the AIs.
And I think
that's what With Not About was. I'll tell you the story about the next one in a minute.
Okay, so my conclusion to that comes back to AI working with a digital currency, Bitcoin being the only fixed and the only decentralized currency as a base layer.
That's going to be my next question.
Is it?
No, I'm kidding. You put the idea in my head.
Okay, good. And then there's the cryptocurrencies, and that's a distinction that I think we need to make, is that the cryptocurrencies are they don't have the same decentralization, they don't have the same fixed supply, but the AI agents in the AI economy can work with Bitcoin, can work with
AI agents will bore you to death with facts about why it's the way it is and what to do about it. They will. They won't say, oh yeah, that currency doesn't quite. They'll say, well, that currency doesn't work, and here's 15 reasons why it doesn't work, and here's 17 reasons why Bitcoin is better, and blah, 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 blah. They'll lecture you forever with facts.
So we need to revisit this.
You have to be the kid that says, but why is it blue?
But why? Yeah.
Why is it blue?
So, in summary today... So
that's the first one.
Okay, in summary today, where do you stand on... if I said, because the podcast is called From To Be or Not To Be.
Yeah.
From blockchain to Bitcoin and everything in between. And today we have discussed everything in between. But where do you stand? Yeah, where do you stand on Bitcoin?
I've been ignoring cryptocurrency for 20 years, and that bugger Myers,
Jesse Myers,
poked me and got me to start thinking about it. I'll hate him forever. No, you're okay, Jesse, I don't hate you. And it wouldn't matter even if I did, because I'm so old, I'll be dead before you have to worry. Oh, I've lost the thread now. Where was it?
Where do you stand on Bitcoin?
I've only just started to think about it, and my solution again is to say, wow, these seem to be the pros and the cons. Let's ask AI. Let's say to it, and I will eventually ask my 4 friends.
Okay.
What about Bitcoin? What would that effect would that have on the economy? What about growth, and what about population? How does Bitcoin doesn't seem to be related to population? What's the link, and what's the influence, and why does it matter? And I'll ask the questions.
Great.
Let them talk forever.
Wow. Well, today, honestly, Hugh, it's been fascinating. I think I'm going to connect most of this into maybe a series of 3 that we can weave in and out of the other interviews that I have done. I've got another fascinating one coming up for you with a guy called Scott Ellum. He's the CEO of a recruitment company, and he's looking at, obviously, the future of jobs.
Yeah.
Well, and that's going to be really
That's another
relevant.
major AI.
Yeah.
And have you noticed how all these things play together?
Yeah.
It's going to affect the future of jobs.
Yeah.
The future of jobs is going to affect the population.
Yeah.
And whether people have kids or not. And how families get financed.
Yeah.
Are they going to use debt, or are we just going to print money and give it to them? That's one of the ideas.
Or are we going to have Bitcoin on the balance sheet through companies?
And we'll say everybody's entitled to 2%. Sorry, everyone's pretend. There's 1 million people. You get 1/1,000,000th of the Bitcoin every year, of the money that the Bitcoin makes.
Yeah, that's exactly what Scott's doing.
What do you want to do? And let everybody decide. Well, I don't care. I'm going to go and spend it on wine, women and song.
And that's what it comes down to. Again, the emotional intelligence of our planet. Whether it
hinges on
AI having some future
sensible ideas to keep us naked apes.
Yeah.
Desmond Morris called us the naked apes.
Yeah.
Keep us naked apes from killing ourselves. Yeah. AI isn't going to kill us. We're going to kill ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's been fascinating.
This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, tax, or any other form of professional advice. Nothing in this episode or any other should be taken as a recommendation, endorsement, or invitation to buy, sell, or hold any cryptocurrency, tokenized asset, or other investment, or to engage in any specific strategy. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are personal opinions only and do not represent the views of any organizations they are affiliated with. The content may be inaccurate, incomplete, or become outdated at any time, and no liability is accepted for any loss or damage arising from reliance on it. Listeners should always do their own research and seek advice from an appropriately regulated professional before making any financial decisions.